Pay your TV license quickly and easily with MTN Momo. Simply dial *007 *3 hash and select option 8 for TV license. Enter your national ID number as your reference and the amount you wish to pay. Then enter your PIN to confirm your payment. Once your payment has been made, you'll receive a confirmation SMS of your payment. If you're a first-time payer, you get another SMS for your TV license. So legalize your entertainment from the comfort of your home. Pay your TV license the easy and convenient way with MTN Momo.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Jovela iCovid-19 unciphise emathuba ekugula kakhulu na ungayithola. Kanjalo qhubeka nekunatha kahle ema-ARVs kuze kunciphe linani le-HIV emtimbeni. Lokho kunciphisa emathuba ekwencisela i-HIV kulomunye.
#Jova nawe. Lo mlayeto wemasonto newulethelwa litiko letempilo libambisene naNature namhla buhlangene.
Good evening, this is Eswatini TV News at 8. I am Notilesi Tole, alongside Nomakabiso Nkambule. First up, let's have a look at our headlining stories.
His Majesty King Mswati III has blessed the 22nd of July to be the day for the Somhlolo Festival of Praise. The Minister for Finance, Nuberkenbeck, has announced Brightwell Ngambule as the new Eswatini Revenue Service Commissioner General. Government has set aside 220 million emalangeni to cater for the cost of living adjustment for the 2022-2023 financial year.
Glad to have your company. His Majesty King Mswati III has blessed the 22nd of July to be the day for the Somhlolo Festival of Praise services. The announcement was made by the Minister of Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, during a press conference in her offices in Babane.
Litiko letasekhaya lithandza kwatisa sive wewe ingonyama inkosi Mswati wesithathu seyibusisile wewe ukuthi inkonzo taSomhlolo Festival of Praise iqhubeke nakulomnyaka. Letinkonzo ke bekunele tawuqhubeka ngaye lokholwane lesikuye mhla tinge-22 kutabe kungilesihlanu. Bayethe
silo sesisibusisele nelitiko kanjalo sitawuqhubeka nato nga-August nje sitawube siqhubeka ngoba siyaye sibe nato la etinkundleni sinama-train lukhele losihlelela kotona sitanatisa ke ukuthi sitabe sikuphi nini kepha ke sitawuqala kule nyanga letako nga-August kepha ke sitawumemetela kahle konke lokho naletinye tinhlelo letabe tikhona ngoba sifiso vele ngibona lokuthi asiwuthathe lo mculo siwudle ngekhathi kuze siphile. Inkosi nibusise.
The Minister for Finance, Nuberkenbeck, has announced that Brightwell Nkambule is the new Eswatini Revenue Service Commissioner General. Nkambule has been the ERS Acting Commissioner General since February this year.
Following the departure of the former Eswatini Revenue Services Commissioner General, Dumsan Masilela, to the International Monetary Fund earlier this year, Brightwell Nkambule assumed the position of the ERS Commissioner General on acting basis the following month. On Monday, the Minister for Finance, Neil Rickenbach, announced that Nkambule is now the official ERS Commissioner General.
As the Ministry of Finance, we just want to congratulate, first of all, the board for the new Commissioner General, but obviously also congratulate Mr. Nkambule for his excellence, which has got him to the position. The role of a CG is a critical one. The role of a CG has got lots of, within the Act, a lot of rights and a lot of authority. It does rest in the person of the Commissioner General, which obviously then delegates through the organisation, but it is a very critical role and a very critical function that has been filled today.
In words of appreciation, the new ERS Commissioner General said the major tool that the service will be using is collaboration with key stakeholders.
We will not just be a service by name, but we will be a service, our taxpayers will feel that we are a service. And indeed, we will continuously deliver and exceed on our revenue targets. The major tool that we want to use here is collaboration with our key stakeholders. We want to co-create with our taxpayers. We want to build trust, even internally, between officers and management. We want to build a very strong trust. We want to build very strong trust with our key stakeholders going forward.
Nkambule joined the Eswatini Revenue Service in 2010 and has also played a role of short-term expert with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, from 2015 on tax administration reforms program in countries such as Nigeria, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Namibia, amongst others. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkel Siwekoza with Fominko Sinsenisa, Eswatini.
In a statement released by the Ministry of Public Service, in terms of the Appropriations Act No. 1 of 2023, government has set aside an amount of 220 million emalangeni to cater for the cost of living adjustment COLA for the 2022-2023 financial year. 55 million emalangeni for the 2016 salary review appeals and 15 million emalangeni for the engagement of a consultant to undertake a salary review of the entire public service. The government of the Kingdom of Eswatini recognizes 5 public sector associations, PSAs, as employee representatives of the various categories of employees in the public service, namely the National Public Services and Allied Workers Union, NAPSAL, Swaziland National Association of Teachers, SNAT, Swaziland Nurses Association, SNA, the Swaziland National Association of Government Accounting Personnel, SNAGAP, and the Eswatini Principals Association, APAM. NAPSAL, SNAT, SNA, and SNAGAP are members of the Joint Negotiations Forum, JNF, while EPA is not, as she represents managers in the education sector. Conscious of the erosion of the buying power of salaries for her employees and in full appreciation of the prevailing fiscal and cash flow challenges, government invited both PSAs and EPA at the beginning of the 2022-2023 financial year to present their proposed agenda items that will culminate into a consolidated agenda for the current financial year. In a meeting of the JNF held on 27 April 2022, the parties engaged each other with the aim of setting the agenda items for discussion during the 2022-2023 financial year according to priority. The parties, however, failed to agree on the merging of the agenda items as well as the criteria and justifications used by each party in arriving at the order of priority of the agenda items presented at the table. As a result, therefore, the parties agreed to disagree and signed a deadlock on the setting of the agenda. The agenda items presented by GNT were in the following order of priority: cost of living adjustment, negotiations framework, finalization of the salary review appeals and salary review. The PSAs, on the other hand, also presented their list of agenda items in the following order of priority: finalization of the negotiations framework, allowances, finalization of salary review appeals, salary review, cost of living adjustment for the 2022-2023 financial year, and quality public service delivery. The proposal from GNT was to alternate the agenda items until the list was exhausted. However, this proposal was rejected by the PSAs, who proposed that agenda items that were left pending from the previous financial year 2021-2022 should be first on the agenda. This was not acceptable to the GNT, who held the view that there was no agreement compelling parties to bring forward items pending from previous financial years, but rather the agenda should be set based on the need for that financial year, hence the deadlock. Following the deadlock, the PSAs reported a dispute at CIMAC. The parties have been summoned to appear before the Commission on the 7th of July 2022 for the conciliation of the dispute. Similarly, on 28 April 2022, the GNT and EPA commenced negotiations on the cost of living adjustment for the 2022-2023 financial year. GNT offered 3% of basic salary across the board with effect from the 1st of April 2022. EPA, on the other hand, countered that offer and demanded 6% cost of living adjustment on the basis that this would cushion the salaries of their members, which have been depleted over the years. As negotiations continued and appreciating the parlous financial situation of government, EPA eventually moved from her initial caller demand of 6% to a final fallback position of 3% demand, plus a once-off sweetener of 1% of annual basic salary across the board. Subsequently, at a meeting held on 27 June 2022, the parties signed a collective agreement to implement a 3% of monthly basic salary across the board cost of living adjustment with effect from 1 April 2022, plus a once-off payment of 1% of annual basic salary across the board. In compliance with the existing recognition agreements with NAPSAO, SNAT, SNA and SNAGAP, government, as a matter of law, as well as taking into cognizance the pressing need to financially cushion her employees, will henceforth implement the 3% of monthly basic salary plus the once-off 1% of annual basic salary to members of EPA, those employees regarded as managers, and those employees who, by the nature of their work, cannot join a union. Government reiterates and confirms her readiness and willingness to negotiate and agree on the agenda with the PSAs, which may lead to negotiations on the cost of living adjustment, its finalization and implementation as soon as possible. The Ministry of Education will start distributing food to various schools in the kingdom tomorrow. According to the Principal Secretary in the Ministry, Bheki Gama, they will start with those schools which have a greater need, since pupils will be returning back to class tomorrow.
Schools that are under the Zondle program have been faced with the issue of food shortages. The Principal Secretary, Bheki Gama, says the ministry will be supplying schools with food starting from Tuesday, the 5th of July 2022, which also coincides with the beginning of Term 2.
Kula malanga silitiko letemfundo sisebenta tindzaba takamhlabuhlangene la khona sibuka imfundo umhlaba wonke. Onke emave la ngemalunga kumhlabuhlangene akhulumisa tindzaba temfundo emva kokube emave lamaningi ashaywe yiCovid. Nathi silive sinato tibati teCovid lesihlangabetene nato. Sinemsebenzi ke nathi lesiunikwe lihhovisi lakandunankulu silitiko ukuthi asesihambe sicocisana ngokuthi imfundo ichuba njani, sibona singayilungisa kanjani ukuthi ivuke isiphe konke lebese kubhalele emgomeni yethu silive.
The 1 billion Rising Director in Southern Africa, Xolanhla Jwago, has expressed her concerns and that of the campaign following the increasing numbers of the killings of women who are being killed by their loved ones. She urges government to declare gender-based violence as a pandemic.
Following the brutal killing of 2 females reported by other media houses in the country last week, were on separate instances, despite the call by 1 billion Rising and other organizations to government to declare the gender-based violence as a pandemic. The 1 billion Rising Director in Africa, Xolanhla Jwago, has urged government to rise and declare this as a pandemic because we are slowly losing people, especially females, as a result of violence.
We are urging government to quickly action on that and ensure that as a country, if we are saying we are protecting people's rights and women's rights, let's start now by declaring GBV as a national crisis. And we also would love to send our condolences to the families that have been, of those that have been killed, but also to mention that the few cases that have been reported do not represent all the cases of gender-based violence that we see in the country. There are quite a lot of cases of violence that women are subjected to, and it then calls for all of us to come up with strategies and to say what is it that we are doing as a country to try to end gender-based violence. And the cases of violence that we are seeing is mostly high in between people who are related or people who are in a relationship.
The 1 billion rising is currently forming community-based circles which seeks to empower ladies to be financially independent. Men are also educated on best ways to solve problems and not being abusers. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB, Thandukuhle Mhluli, and Nomfundo Makakula, Manzini.
The Center for Financial Inclusion urges members of the public to carefully read and understand terms and conditions of any financial institution or sector before they can borrow money. These were words of the Center for Financial Inclusion CEO Nomcebo Hadebe during the National Financial Literacy Strategy Development Sensitization Workshop that was held at the Mountain Inn in Babane on Monday.
The Center for Financial Inclusion, together with its different stakeholders from different sectors, including the banking sector, FSRA, and others, discussed the development strategy which is aimed at empowering Maswati to interact and engage with the financial sector and improve their well-being. The CEO, Nomcebo Hadebe, says the strategy will help guide them on ensuring that the Maswati have access to financial sectors.
There's a lot of studies that you can find on financial literacies, and it has been evaluated that if a financial inclusion strategy is in collaboration with a financial education or literacy strategy, we achieve meaningful financial inclusion. This is because the countries that have done these have shown that enhancing financial literacy and personal finance decision-making capabilities of people enhance the overall outcome of financial inclusion and poverty reduction initiatives. As financially literate people can demand and properly use beneficial financial services such as savings, microcredit, and insurance. Hence the importance of partnering with regulators who have the control of financial products and services in Eswatini. That's why the FSRA and Central Bank needed to be here. The regulators are entrusted with the mandate to ensure that the financial sector is always stable and has integrity, which will allow for financial inclusion and adequate consumer protection to proportionately be balanced in this area. Only 24% of the Maswati, so you need to understand, only 24% of the population in Eswatini have a high overall financial capability. This is according to our outdated data of FinScope 2018. It also states that 44% have moderate financial capability and 25% only have a low financial capability.
Eswatini currently stands at 87% in the SADC region with access to financial sectors. Reporting, I am Kian MCB with Thandukuhle Mhluli and Nomfundo Makakula at the Mountain Inn in Babane.
The Ministry of Justice's Portfolio Committee in the House of Assembly continues to hold regional submissions on the Marriage and Matrimonial Property Bill of 2022. The committee visited the Sandleni Nkundla on Friday. We have a report.
The Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs Portfolio Committee at the House of Assembly continues with regional submissions on the Marriage Bill of 2022 as well as the Matrimonial Property Bill of 2022. On Friday, the committee visited the third Nkundla, which was the Sandleni Nkundla. Before the residents made their submissions on the two bills, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs Representative Mlondi Smanze educated them on the clauses of the two bills.
Pinze futhi nangalana kumele bese soyalisa timpahla kumbe letitawusetshenziswa noma lento akusebenzisa ngalomfato lomuntu Lo ebekele ekutheni ungakhanze ukuthi kumbe sesafata impahla noma iproperty lengale lomfati lomtsana sekwakhiwa likhaya lalomfati lona loncane ubekele lokho lokuthi bakhona ukuthi bavikeleke.
Sandlin residents then made their submissions on the bills.
Sengiyashona mina la ekhaya. Mangishonako. Kunetinkomo nabo konke la ekhaya timbasa letingetetfu sobabili. Bese sekuthi uma ngabe ngithi ngiyashona la lo mkami akasafinyeleli lapha esibayeni. So kwekuthi angihlabele inkomo lapha badle labantu labatongifihla. Akhiphe inkomo la ayithengisele ukuthi ngifihlwe ngale ndlela acabanga ukuthi ngifihlwe ngayo. Lapha kaMaster ngathi noma ngiphume eceleni kwakhona yini ukuthi akavumi Master ukuthi nomkami kube khona la sakwendaba.
Lemithetho le when it comes to kulama marriage certificate mase kudilwa ngabo akube equal ukutreatwe equal.
The portfolio committee is expected to continue with the regional submissions of the two bills, and they have already received submissions by the Human Rights Commission, church bodies, amongst others. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samgel Siwekoza, Babane.
And now we'll have a look at our financial markets.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Good evening once again. Moving on, we'll have a look at our sports news. Nazarene Compassionate Ministries, in collaboration with Manzini Wanderers and Denver Sundowns, have officially launched a campaign of fighting against gender-based violence in the country. The two teams will face each other in a football match to be played on the 30th of July this year at the King Sopuza II Memorial Stadium.
In seeing the increase of numbers in gender-based violence, Nazarene Compassionate Ministries, together with two Premier League giants being Manzini Wanderers and Denver Sundowns, have officially launched a campaign of fighting against gender-based violence in the country. The Nazarene Compassionate Ministries country coordinator Spongile Skula says football as a sport can be used as one of the best tools to fight against gender-based violence. The two teams' representatives, being Elvis Dube of Denver Sundowns and Mlongi Sinziniza of Manzini Wanderers, also expressed what a great opportunity will be for the two teams to exercise a social responsibility.
Sitawusho njengoba ngisho ngithi ibhola ihlanganisa ibetinini kunebantwana kunebantu abadala kunabesifazane wonke umuntu sovumelekile nje ukuthi which is why lesibese siya decide no asalospitala ama professionals sithi sendaweni bethu ekuvusela sibuyise ama supporters but it at the same time lama professionals abe as guide aphinza ahambe nathi.
The games between the two teams will be held on the 30th of July this year at the King Sopuza Memorial II in Hlangano. Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
The Premier League of Eswatini is in serious consultation with the National Football Association over a possibility of securing Somhlolo National Stadium for the upcoming season league games. The Premier League's Chief Operations Officer Pat Vilagati says with the possibility of having knockout tournaments once again next season, they really do need Somhlolo National Stadium.
Ahead of the new campaign of the 2022-2023 season, Premier League of Eswatini says they're in serious consultation with the Football Mother Board and the Ministry of Sports on possibilities of securing Somhlolo National Stadium as one of the venues for the league games come next season.
Ifiso tethu singPremier League kusina sibuyisa lemidlalo wethu abe khona Somhlolo njengoba wathi ukuthi siyasiqala ngemidlalo lefaka ekhathi bo charity nje.
Premier League of Eswatini Chief Operations Officer Pat Vilagati says with the possibility of having knockout tournament next season, Somhlolo is one of the venues that will be needed to host games. The clear outcome on the issue is expected to be announced later this month during the annual general meeting of the National Football Association. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Babane.
That's all for now. Before we go, let's have a look at our top stories.
His Majesty King Mswati III has blessed the 22nd of July to be the day for the Somhlolo Festival of Praise. The Minister for Finance, Nurkenberg, has announced Brightwell Ngambule as the new Eswatini Revenue Service Commissioner General. Government has set aside 220 million emalangeni to cater for the cost of living adjustment for the 2022-2023 financial year.
And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from ourselves and team. Once again, thank you for your company. Good night.
In a world of commerce and ever-evolving industries, we venture into the minds of those that run these big companies. On this show, we take you into the human stories of the giants with the vision, their big ideas, and where all this inspiration. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing to you Mr. Pedro.
My story began 1974 in Princess Marina Hospital in Gaborone, where I was born. So I was born, I'm a Gaborone guy, I was born here. I ended up, I did my part 1 here, and then I ended up transferring to Scotland, where I studied my architecture.
Oh, nice.
From here to there. When I first started Cigar Lounge, I wanted to run it for 2 years. I just said, I want to try it for only 2 years. After 2 years, then I'm done. I don't know what happened. The next thing, it was 5 years, and I was still in it, and I guess I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people used to ask me, how do you balance the two? Because during the day, you are like at the architectural practice, and then in the evening, you are like at Cigar. And a lot of people, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people don't even know that I do architecture. People just know me as Raskanta or Cigar.
I was not going to go there, but okay.
And what was that experience like for you? I mean,
I didn't like boarding school.
Really?
I found it really hard. I went to boarding school because my dad was the headmaster of the school I went to, and there was only space for one head in the school, and it couldn't be me. It needed to be my dad.
Right, I'm sure.
So I went to boarding school. It was in the 80s. It was a difficult time in South Africa. It was a difficult time with segregation. It was in Pretoria. It was conservative. I don't like fitting in. I don't like rules. I don't like rules that don't make sense.
Okay, I am Madam Khubusang, born Malili in Seroe. I am the youngest of 7 siblings. I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm an entrepreneur. Okay. I call myself a creative. I'm also a foodie. I love playing around with food and telling stories through play.
Africa is circled around wine. You know, Africa, we don't even know enough about ourselves. So through those wines, we can know about injere, dombolo, mokodu, jollof rice, and egusi, and eforiro. So we can bring our food out. We can learn more about ourselves. We can share our cultural differences and similarities, because we can. I think we haven't profoundly done wine and art, or wine and African history.
Better health, better life. Another season with fresh discussions.
ngetindzaba letibalulekile tetemphilo la ekhaya Eswatini lokunukelela ehlelweni lokuphila masangana.
To learn from our health professionals.
Psychosocial support group for mothers who are going through the journey of motherhood for all mothers.
Mnanzi phila ube intombi yakeni bebasifusa ngesontweni ube jaha lakeni abujaha and knowing that I'm a young man.
Angeke ufithe la groupini ungabhemi. So vele directly tawufuna nami ngibhemi kanti beningakufuni lokubhema.
Coming to you every Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. here on Eswatini TV. Better health, better life. Your gateway to a healthy living.
Kunokusifanyana lokuncane lokunemandla lamakhulu kuloya mndeni.
Hamhlala phansi.
Unetangoma letinkulu letinemadla lamakhulu lelitakulwisa ngenxa yokuthi abantu basatawusenza lapha kuwo.
Mina ngibona ukuthi asicele sibanze abuye achubeke nalomsebenzi.
Bengifuna ke ukucela ukuthi ungibuyela la khaya.
Smela. Tenía el camelo.